Hi, this is Chris Young, and welcome to Good News on Tap for the 22nd Sunday of Ordinary Time. Many times we pay little attention to the Old Testament readings and concentrate mostly on the Gospels. And I can honestly say that when I saw this week's first reading, I don't recall ever having read that reading before. But when I did, I almost laughed out loud. The prophet Jeremiah is in a real mess. He starts out by saying, "You duped me, Lord, and I duped myself." Jeremiah's problem is he can't stop speaking about the Lord. And of course, lots of times, people don't want to hear his message because he's calling them to task for not living the lives they ought to be living, for not being faithful to the Lord. Well, people don't want to hear that, and it gets him in a lot of trouble. So Jeremiah tries to keep his mouth shut. He says to himself, "I'm not going to be a rabble-rouser. I'm not going to stir up trouble anymore." And try as he might, he fails to keep his mouth shut. When he sees God's people turning away from the Lord, he has to speak up. It's irresistible. He has to call them back to the right path. Now that's the real role of a prophet, not to predict the future, although they often do that. The real role of a prophet is to be God's spokesperson and to call people back when they go astray. I spent a lot of years volunteering for various things in my parish, such as parish council and finance committee. There have been way too many times when I felt just like Jeremiah. There have been times when I've had to play the role of the prophet and to warn people that if we go down a particular path, or if we implement a certain policy, it's going to cause problems. But people don't want to hear what I have to say when it's negative. So, like Jeremiah, I've tried to keep my mouth shut. And on several occasions, like Jeremiah, I've failed miserably at keeping my mouth shut. When we're called to stand up for our beliefs, it can be at a great personal cost. And we see it as civil society as well. Whistleblowers who reveal that a company is corrupt or that the politicians are doing something wrong. They often lose their jobs for standing up for what they know is right. But you've got to do it. There are times when doing the right thing can be a totally irresistible calling. In the gospel reading today, Jesus warns that following him will be costly. He says we must deny ourselves and take up our cross and follow him. For some, unfortunately, that means actually giving their life. For example, people in the military or in law enforcement. But even if we're not literally called to die for our beliefs, we do have to make sacrifices. We need to look at Jeremiah as an example. We need to have his prophet's zeal and enthusiasm. The psalm talks about having a thirst for the Lord. When we have that thirst and zeal to stick up for our beliefs, no matter what happens, we will end up sacrificing much. However, God recognizes that sacrifice, because at the end of the gospel reading today, Jesus promises us that in the end, when he comes into his glory, he will repay us according to our conduct. And that's Good News on Tap for the 22nd Sunday of Ordinary Time.